I reclaimed my lake house after my parents sold it for my sister's wedding. Shocking truth. The old lake house stood like a ghost from the past, whispering secrets in the wind. It was once a hub of laughter, love, and summer nights lit by fireflies. But when Mom and Dad sold it, it felt like they sold a piece of my heart. I was furious, but the real shock came when I found out they de-sold it to fund my sister's extravagant wedding. The day I drove back to that place, a shiver shot through my spine. The woods seemed darker, heavier. Birds didn't chirp, they seemed to watch. The paint was peeling, the dock was sagging. Everything felt different yet eerily familiar. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was not right. Then came the whispers, almost like voices carried by the breeze. "Why are you here?" they seemed to ask, sending chills racing down my arms. A strange fog rolled in, cloaking the house in mystery and dread. I remembered the legend, the one the townsfolk whispered about in nervous tones. It said the lake held memories of those who loved it and those who suffered. I always dismissed it, but as I approached the front door, I hesitated. The aura was thick, like stepping into a dimly lit room where shadows loomed. A sudden urge pushed me. I had to know what really happened here. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Pushing the door open, it creaked like a warning. I stepped inside, the musty air clawing at my throat. What was that noise? A soft thud echoed from upstairs, like someone or something was up there. My heart raced. Was it a trick of the mind or a sign? The whole place felt alive, breathing, waiting. I needed to uncover the truth of what really happened after they sold it. The whispers grew louder, taunting. What were they trying to tell me? The mystery clawed at my chest, and I couldn't shake the upcoming dread that something waited in those shadowy corners. The creaking floorboards echoed beneath my feet as I ventured deeper into the house, the noise hanging in the air like an unsettling melody. Each step felt heavy, as if the very spirit of the place was aware of my presence, watching, waiting. I focused on the chilling thud that pulled me toward the staircase. Was I alone in this forsaken house? I took a deep breath to steady myself and climbed the stairs with cautious determination. The whispers grew louder, a distant hum of despair woven with urgency. I reached the landing, where a dim light flickered from the end of the hallway. Shadows danced on the walls, twisting into shapes that made my skin prick with fear. What lay beyond that door? My heartbeat thundered in my chest as I approached, urging me forward yet simultaneously screaming for me to turn back. I arrived at the door, half open and slightly ajar, as if someone had been waiting for me to arrive. It swung open with ease, revealing a room cloaked in darkness. The curtains were drawn tight, blocking out the sun's warm embrace. Dust motes floated lazily in the small stream of light that managed to cut through, like trapped spirits yearning to escape. A sudden gust of wind blew through the opening, sending a shiver down my spine. I stepped inside, careful not to disturb the silence. The air was thick, pregnant with old memories, tainted with sorrow and longing. It was then that my gaze fell on a familiar object, a weathered journal lying on the bedside table, its leather cover cracked and worn. I reached for it, my hands trembling with a mixture of eagerness and dread. As I flipped through its pages, I felt like I was prying into secrets I wasn't meant to uncover. It was my mother's handwriting, scribbled notes filled with thoughts, dreams, and fears. Each sentence screamed for recognition, a desperate plea woven throughout the loose sheets. But then, one entry caught my eye, so different from the rest. It spoke of an unsettling event, a horrid day that seemed to haunt the very fabric of this house. My breath quickened as I read about a family gathering that spiraled into chaos, a clash of emotions, a disagreement that ended in bitter words. Had that moment marked the house with grief? As I scanned the pages, urgency wrapped around me like a tightening noose. The last entry was abruptly cut off, as if the pen hadn't just stopped mid-thought, but had been snatched away by an unseen force. It was like the author had sensed something terrible, an impending doom lurking just beyond the threshold. Had this chaos summoned something? Something dark. Suddenly, an icy chill flooded the room, and the door slammed shut behind me. My heart lurched violently in my chest. I was not alone. Panic surged through me as I stumbled back, my palms pressing against the wall for support. It felt as though the very walls were closing in, suffocating me with memories I wasn't ready to face. Cold whispers brushed against my ear again, clearer this time. You shouldn't have come back. They echoed with a sorrowful menace that made my blood run cold. I was gripped by an overwhelming need to escape, but my feet felt rooted to the ground. The journal fell from my hands, its pages fluttering open like trapped birds. I couldn't remain here, not after sensing the anger and pain that lingered. What dark truth awaited me in this house? Who had I disturbed? The whispers crescendoed, rising to a clamorous wail, and then silence. In that ghastly stillness, I could almost hear a heartbeat, a countdown to whatever lay lurking within. Would I be brave enough to uncover it? Or would I become another ghost of the lake house forever lost? The silence clung to me like a thick fog, wrapping around my throat, squeezing as I tried to breathe. The truth I sought, the secrets buried beneath a pile of anguish and shadows, it was right here, hidden in the heart of this forsaken house. I took a shaky step forward, and the floorboards creaked, a warning of what was to come. I could feel the chill in the air, pricking my skin, urging me to stop. But that last entry haunted me. Something had happened here. Something terrible. My mother's words lashed at my mind. The urgency in her writing screamed for attention. Had her return to this house meant she uncovered something she wasn't meant to? Suddenly, a shadow flickered across the wall, pulling me back to the moment. I squinted into the darkness, the weight of eyes upon me. My pulse quickened. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice a thin thread in a thick tapestry of despair. But there was no answer. The shadows held silent, as if taunting me. I steeled myself, forcing my legs to move as I stepped further into the room. The journal lay open on the floor, its pages fluttering like restless spirits, drawing me closer. What more had my mother written? As I bent down, the air shifted. I felt a breath against my neck, a whisper so cold it stole the warmth from my body. "You don't belong here." The voice was guttural, laced with a cruel disdain that made my hair stand on end. I recoiled, stumbling backward, my breath coming faster, panic tightening its grip. The room was closing in, the walls now seeming to pulse with life, alive and hungry. "What do you want?" I shouted, desperation creeping into my voice. I felt foolish, shouting into the void, but I had to understand. The air shifted again. A figure appeared in the corner of my eye, darting just beyond the reach of the flickering light. My heart raced as the room seemed to twist and turn, my surroundings morphing into something more like a nightmare. I was no longer merely an intruder. I was part of a terrifying performance where I was destined to play a role. I dashed toward the window, ripping back the dusty curtains. Daylight spilled in, overwhelming the darkness and casting the room in a stark contrast of shadows. I could breathe, at least for a moment, as I fought to regain my composure. But my eyes locked onto something in the distance. An old photograph lay on the sill, face down, hidden away like a terrible truth. With trembling hands, I picked it up, turning it over. My heart sank. It showed my family gathered on that fateful day, the day everything changed. Faces I recognized mixed with unfamiliar ones, twisted expressions caught mid-laugh, or was it mid-shout? The deep lines on their brows told a story of discord, an unrelenting divide. But it wasn't the gathering that sent shivers down my spine. It was the shadow looming in the background, a figure only partially visible, receding into the dark. Something about that shadow pulled at my memory, teasing at something I had long buried deep within myself. I glanced back toward the door, half expecting the mystery to materialize before me, but nothing stirred. Instead, the silence pressed down harder, the weight of unspoken truths hanging in the air. A thud echoed from the hallway, a sound far too heavy, unmistakably deliberate. My heart raced at the thought of uncovering something more, but dread gripped my insides. What awaited me out there? Was it another whisper, another terrifying specter from the shadows? Or perhaps the very unraveling of history, bursting forth into the light? I had to know. But as I turned toward the door, a voice reverberated in my mind, darker and deeper than before. You shouldn't have come back. That sinister echo followed me now, a haunting reminder that the lake house had secrets it wasn't ready to share. I took a breath, drawing courage from the very terror that threatened to paralyze me, and stepped toward the door, ready to confront whatever awaited me beyond the threshold. But the moment I grasped the handle, it twisted on its own, the door swinging open to reveal the abyss and the truth I was desperate to uncover. The door swung wide, revealing a dim hallway that stretched into the unknown. Instinct screamed for me to retreat, yet a force, stronger than fear, pulled me forward. The thud echoed again, louder now, a solid reminder that I was not alone. I stepped into the corridor, the air thickening around me. Shadows danced at the edges of the light, slipping in and out of focus. As I moved deeper, the wallpaper peeled away in long strips, revealing patches of rotting wood beneath. The dark whispers seemed to coil themselves around my throat, squeezing tighter the further I went. Come closer. The voice was softer this time, almost seductive. I hesitated, a chill crawling down my spine as I strained to discern the source. Was it just my mind playing tricks? Or something more sinister luring me in? In the distance, a faint, flickering light caught my attention. Compelled, I stumbled forward, my heart pounding. Each step echoed through the stillness, a drumbeat marking the tempo of my rising dread. I reached the last door at the end of the corridor, an old oak door, scarred and weathered but still robust. With a deep breath, I placed my hand on the doorknob. The moment I touched it, a jolt of energy shot through me, a connection to something ancient and powerful. The air crackled, and my pulse quickened as the door swung open on its own. Inside was a small room, cluttered with remnants of the past, boxes stacked haphazardly, discolored books piled on a desk, and faded photographs littered the floor. But it was the air that caught my breath, thick and heavy with the scent of despair, like a funeral shrouded in momentary silence. I stepped in cautiously, glancing around. The light flickering from an oil lamp cast eerie shadows that seemed to stretch into the corners, whispering secrets I was not ready to face. Then I saw it, a journal, worn and battered, resting on the desk among the cobwebs. My mother's handwriting spilled across the pages, frantic and desperate. I picked it up, feeling the weight of her fears radiating from the paper. The first entry was dated far more recently than I expected. I keep hearing the echoes. They're calling to me, reminding me of what we lost. My chest tightened. I flipped further into the pages, coming across sketches that turned my stomach, twisted faces, dark figures lurking in the margins, their eyes blacker than night. Each stroke of the pen seemed to pulse with energy, a reflection of my mother's mounting panic. Then came the final entry, dated just a month before her return. It's here, I can feel it. The darkness is alive in this house, whispers from those who once lived and perished. I have to go back. I have to find the truth before it devours us all. Fear gnawed at me as I thought of my mother. Had she uncovered something horrific, something that drove her back? What had she stumbled upon that was worth this despair? A sudden crash echoed from outside the room, tearing through my thoughts. I jumped, my heart racing. I swung around to face the door just as it slammed shut. The shadowy whispers escalated into a cacophony of murmurs, swirling around me, pressing in close. They felt alive, twisting, wrapping around my limbs like a vine of dark thoughts. Leave now while you still can. I stumbled back, knocking over a chair, its clatter breaking through the noise for just a moment. The urge to flee surged in my veins, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that the answers I needed were just beyond my grasp. I stepped back to the door, grappling with the handle, but it wouldn't budge. Panic set in as the shadows swirled tighter. Just as I turned back, I caught sight of something on the wall, something dark, looming. A face emerging from the shadows, reaching out with hands grasping for me, and then it spoke, a voice dripping with malice. You shouldn't have come here. You've awakened what should have remained buried. I could barely breathe, my heart pounding in my ears. Just behind that face, I glimpsed movement, a swirl of darkness that pulsed and writhed, eager for release. I had to escape, but first I needed to know. What truth lay behind that face, behind that darkness? Would I unravel the mystery before it consumed me? As the chilling whispers grew louder, I braced myself for what lay ahead. The door still locked, but the answer tantalizingly close. The air thickened with tension as the darkness seemed to pull me closer, its twisted form flickering in and out of existence. Heart racing, I battled instinct and curiosity, desperate to break through the suffocating grip of fear. I forced my shaky legs forward, straining to make sense of what I was seeing. The face settled into something resembling a familiar shape. It was then that dread seeped deeper into my bones. It was my mother's likeness, contorted in agony, a reflection of her essence twisted by whatever dwellings haunted this forsaken place. "Please," I whispered, my voice trembling. "What do you want from me?" The entity snarled, a sound that reverberated through the walls, vibrating through my very core. "You wanted answers, but they will come at a price, your soul for the truth." As the shadows writhed and pulsed, the flickering light from the oil lamp cast flickers of crimson against the walls, illuminating long-forgotten memories buried within those dark corners. I stepped back, my breathing erratic, desperate to regain control. "No," I shouted. "I want to pay any price. Tell me what happened. Where is she?" The face warped, distorting into grotesque mockery, and the whispers crescendoed into a frenzy. "Seek the light, and it may yet guide you. Stay, and you will drown." Drown? The confusion was mingled with dread. I glanced towards the window, where the flickering shadows elongated and danced, revealing glimpses of a once familiar landscape now steeped in darkness, a lake, deep and foreboding, tangled vines creeping toward the windows. Was it the lake my mother wrote about? The one she felt pulling her back? A rush of memories hit me, the summer escapes, laughter echoing off the water's surface, innocent splashes fading into whispers of regret. But those memories turned hollow, the laughter turning into muffled cries, agony cloaked in the warmth of nostalgia. I spun around, feeling a weight on my shoulders, eager to understand. I moved back to the journal, the pages still yearning for recognition. "Your mother made a pact," the voice hissed, swirling around me, a tempest of menace. "The lake holds thefts of life, your life." My stomach dropped. I had to move. Whatever my mother had tried to escape now threatened to consume me. I backed up, heart pounding, hands fumbling desperately with the journal as I searched for answers. Flipping rapidly, I felt a deep ache of regret. There, the last drawing was more than a sketch. It was a map. Frantic lines connected the house to the lake, an invitation without words, yet it spoke clearly. "Go back." "Back?" I muttered incredulously. "You want me to jump back in?" The whispers surged with delight, wrapping around me unpredictably, each syllable intertwining with my thoughts. "Find what was lost, find what once was. Your mother's fate is your own unless you follow." The door shuddered violently, rattling in its frame before finally bursting open. I stumbled backward, barely catching my balance. The air grew colder, each breath producing shrouded clouds. The hallway darkened, shadows thickening and creeping towards me. I could sense it now, the pull from the lake intensifying, the fatal lure tempting me with its dark promise. I took a deep breath, resolute. I had to face the truth, whatever it was, if it meant uncovering my mother's fate. With determination igniting every nerve in my body, I rushed down the corridor, the chaotic whispers now a chorus urging me forward. I pushed through the door, plunging into the obscured reality outside, the memories of the lake glaring back at me like a beast waiting in ambush. My feet pounded the ground as I raced toward the water's edge. The moonlight glinted off the surface, revealing the undulating shapes beneath. Whatever held my mother, whatever darkness thrived there, it was calling me home. As I stood at the shoreline, heart thrumming in sync with the whispers, I felt the pull strengthen. I had to dive deeper into this mystery. Raising my head, piercing the night with eyes full of resolve, I called out, "I'm coming for you, Mom. I will uncover the truth." But as I glanced down at the water, a shadow surfaced, rippling ominously. And with it, a reminder of what was waiting, something ancient beneath the depths, a truth neither of us were ready for. And then I heard it, a chant emerging from the dark waves, a voice mirroring my mother's, beckoning me, pulling me closer to the unknown. What awaited me in the water? What dark secrets lurked just beneath the surface? The secret life of the lake was about to reveal itself. The water shimmered under the moon's gaze, alive with restless energy that sent chills racing down my spine. I stood frozen, hypnotized by the haunting reflection of the shadow that glided beneath the surface. The echoes of my mother's voice intertwined with the rhythmic lapping of the waves, each syllable wrapping tighter around my heart. Come find me. With every heartbeat, I felt the urgency of my quest. I couldn't turn back. The handful of fleeting moments I had with her before she disappeared felt like they were slipping through my fingers. I refused to let fear rob me of knowing the truth. But the shadows beneath the water were restless, twisting and writhing, as if they knew I was there, paralyzed at the edge of the lake. I clenched my fists, battling the urge to flee. I wasn't here to run. I was here to confront the darkness. Swallowing hard, I stepped closer to the water, the chill sending a jolt through my body. The whispers grew louder, almost screaming now, urging me to plunge in. I hesitated, my body screaming at me to stop, but the thought of my mother's face, twisted in torment, propelled me forward. "Mom!" I yelled, my voice thick with emotion. "What do I need to do?" The water rippled violently at my words, the surface breaking into crescent-shaped waves. Suddenly, a figure shot upward, a pale hand grasped the edge of the dock, followed by a gaunt face emerging from the depths, its skin glistening like silver under the moonlight. I gasped, stepping back instinctively, my heart pounding. No, it wasn't her face. It was a mask of desperation, filled with sorrow. But those eyes were familiar. "Help me!" the figure cried, the voice twisting in pitch, echoing off the trees. My heart raced as recognition washed over me. This was no ordinary spirit. This was a ghost of someone who once walked the earth. The realization hit me. This was a moment of reckoning, a revelation that shattered my resolve. "Who are you?" I demanded, voice trembling. "What did you do to my mother?" "Oh, dear child," the figure's voice turned honey-sweet, drawing me closer. "Your mother made her choice long before you arrived. She chose to know the truth, but the truth came with a cost." I trembled at the implication. I could feel logic slipping away. The whispers grew deafening, spinning tales of secrets I hadn't yet uncovered. "What cost?" I yelled back, desperate for guidance, my hands gripping the dock like it was my only lifeline. "What do you want from me?" "All must be sacrificed for the truth," the apparition hissed, its voice dripping with menace. "You must decide. Are you willing to lose all that you cherish to save her? The lake will demand something in return." I flinched, the weight of its words settling in like a heavy fog. The air shifted, thickening around me as eerie laughter echoed from the depths, sending shivers down my spine. Suddenly, the lake erupted with movement, shadows converging from beneath the surface. Tendrils of darkness reached toward me, making my skin crawl. Instinct kicked in. I didn't know what I was ready to sacrifice, but I couldn't lose her again. Eyes wide with fear, I stepped onto the dock, gripping the edges with sweaty palms. "Whatever it takes," I whispered, taking one last glance at the distorted figure twisting in the murky water, now frozen in an eerie grin. As the first tendril wrapped around my foot, cold and unyielding, my breath caught in my throat. "What is this?" I gasped. Acceptance, it cooed, the voice now a sweet song. Before I could protest, the shadows surged, pulling me toward the lake, the depths yawning open to swallow me whole. As I tumbled into the icy embrace of the water, the world above me faded away, and the truth began to unravel like the pages of my mother's journal, each word a path forward into darkness. I was sinking deeper. Deeper, and just as the last breath escaped my lips, I caught a glimpse of something below, an object, glowing faintly amidst the murk. With a surge of desperation, I reached for it, but the darkness tightened around me. What was I about to uncover? What would I face? When I emerged from these abyssal depths, the lake held secrets, and as I sought to grasp the light, I knew my journey was just beginning. The cold swept through me like a shockwave, wrapping around my bones and squeezing the breath from my lungs. I struggled against the tendrils of darkness that entwined me, each movement sending ripples of panic through my mind. This wasn't just a plunge into the depths. This was a terrifying descent into the unknown. The faint glow pulsed beneath me like a heartbeat, drawing me closer despite the icy grip of the lake. My instincts screamed for me to fight back, to twist and turn, but the weight of water pressed against me, relentless and suffocating. With my last gasping breath, I shot my hand downward toward the glow, fingertips tingling at the promise of revelation that it offered. Just as my fingers brushed against its surface, the darkness recoiled, dragging me deeper into the abyss. My vision blurred, the edges of reality fading. A surge of anger ignited in my chest. No way would I let this drown me. Not now, not when I was this close to finding out the truth about my mother. Summoning every ounce of strength, I pulled myself upward, breaking through the surface with a desperate gasp. The air tasted sweet, but the terrors still clung to me. I clambered onto the dock, heart racing, soul trembling. The moon hung like a watchful eye, casting judgment as I clutched the edge. My breaths came hard and fast, and for just a moment, the world spun around me, a tempest of fear and revelation. I turned to the water, its surface still and deceptively calm. What was that? I gasped into the night. Shadows flickered just below, swirling with intent, but I could almost make out the glow once more. It beckoned to me, this time louder, more insistent. What do you want? I shouted into the darkness, frustration boiling over. The whispers returned, swirling around in a cacophony of emotion. Each word tugged at memories, the days spent laughing with my mother, the days filled with calm that could shatter at any moment. Tell me. You have already begun to pay the price, a voice whispered, haunting and sweet. And just like that, the weight of the shadows increased. They slithered toward me with insatiable hunger. A sinking feeling settled in my stomach. My commitment had been clear, whatever it took to save my mother. But what lay beneath the surface? What did I have to face in exchange for this knowledge? The pale figure resurfaced, its eyes shimmering with a mix of pity and pitying horror. Once you know, child, there's no turning back, it crooned, voice silky smooth yet sharp like broken glass. You will discover the truth, but in doing so, you may lose more than you ever anticipated. My heart thudded painfully against my ribs. I was terrified by the thought of uncovering what the lake concealed, yet the idea of turning my back on my mother's whispers was unbearable. I need to know. I yelled, the desperation spilling out like raw emotion. The apparition smiled, a cold, unsettling smile. Then reach again, embrace the cost. With that, the shadows began to whirl into a violent storm, splashing water and sending waves crashing over the dock. Strengthened by my determination, I summoned the courage to plunge back in despite my body's protest, diving headfirst into the wild, unyielding dark. This time, as the water enveloped me, I focused on that glow, my beacon of hope, and surrendered to the depths. But with each stroke toward the light, shadows began to swirl around me, taunting me with half-glimpsed faces and haunting echoes, each likeness a fragment of the life I'd known. Among those faces, one stood out, a serene figure, familiar yet distant, looking at me with a sadness that turned my heart to stone. Mom? I gasped, the name spilling out with confusion. Is that you? The glow pulsed stronger. But shadows snarled around me, fighting for my attention, vibrating with energy that screamed warnings. What happened next? What would I discover in this chaotic rush toward enlightenment? As my fingertips brushed the glowing object, I realized I wasn't just reaching for truth anymore. I was grasping for a reckoning that could change everything. What would that reckoning reveal about my family? And at what cost could I save my mother's soul? The lake's depths felt infinite, and with each passing second, the stakes grew higher. A shock reverberated through me as my fingers made contact with the radiant surface. The glow consumed my senses, transforming the murky water into a canvas of light and fear. The weight of shadows hung over me like a shroud, whispering dreadful secrets that skirted just out of reach. In that treacherous moment, the painful memory of my mother's warmth flooded my mind. Laughter echoed in faded halls, her voice sweet as honey, blending regret with love. Yet now, beneath the glimmering allure of the glow, there was a sense of danger, something grotesque simmering just beneath. A sudden rush of clarity shot through me. It was not just about my mother's whispers, it was about the shadows that haunted our family, the truths buried deep in the lake I once called home. I will face it. I yelled into the depths, adrenaline surging with each stroke toward the light, but as I neared the glow, an icy breath prickled my spine. The shadows surged, swirling with an intensity that felt alive, suffocating my resolve. They grasped at me, wrapping tighter around my limbs, drawing me away from the light like an insatiable predator hunting its prey. Let me go. I fought against the dark, kicking and thrashing, my breath turning into frantic bubbles that rushed to the surface. But the shadows clung to me with desperation. What were they hiding? What essence of my family danced within this watery grave? The apparition emerged again, more distinct now, its features twisting into an expression of sorrow. What you seek comes with a cost, it murmured, sadness radiating from its eyes. Are you willing to lose every shard of comfort? I hesitated, fear gnawing at my courage. Could I really bear the truth? Was saving my mother worth unraveling everything I thought I knew? The glimmer beneath the waves flickered teasingly, a promise yet a curse. Your path lies hidden in darkness, the figure warned, hands reaching out toward me, shadows flicking beyond its touch. Trust in the truth, but understand it may unmake you. The shadows held now, pulling me with sudden ferocity, sensing my wavering determination. I grappled with the weight of my decision. I felt like a candle flickering at the edge of an abyss. With every ounce of resolve, I plunged deeper into the unknown, toward the painful clarity that lay ahead. Suddenly, with a jolt, something cold gripped my heart. A vision flashed before me, my mother standing at the lake's edge, tears streaming down her face, a look of regret rooted in desperation. I had to do it for you, she cried, a voice echoing against the backdrop of crashing waves. Her pain seeped into me, twisting my gut. What had she sacrificed? What was the hidden truth etching lines into her smiles? Mom, I screamed, the sound bubbling out of me, mingling with the water. As I reached for the glow one last time, the world turned black, darkness bending around me, twisting and turning until I was grappling not just with shadows, but with echoes of decisions gone wrong. And then, it happened, the glow exploded with brilliance, blinding me, and I felt a severing in my chest. Everything I clung to was tearing loose, disintegrating like dust in the wind. What had I awakened? I gasped, struggling against the tide, fighting for breath as the shadows shrieked, threatening to swallow me whole. As my vision faded and consciousness slipped away, I realized I was not alone anymore. A presence loomed, undulating from the depths. The cost of truth was finally at hand, and all I could do was brace myself for the reckoning to come. What awaited me when the darkness lifted? What new truths lay hidden in the lake that could forever alter my family's fate? I felt the chill wrap tighter around me, an unyielding grip of despair that threatened to pull me into a void from which there was no return. My senses screamed against the darkness, and just as I thought my lungs would burst, the shadows melted away, revealing a landscape that was eerily familiar. I stood on the shore of my childhood lake, the still water reflecting the pale sky, shimmering in a haunting beauty. Yet, there was a heavy silence, the kind that makes your skin crawl, and I could almost hear the whispers of forgotten secrets skittering just beyond my understanding. Welcome back, a voice cut through the stillness, smooth, but laden with menace. It belonged to the apparition, now fully corporeal, hovering before me with depths of sorrow in its eyes. My mother? No. This was not her, it was something darker. Where am I? I rasped, each word scraping my throat raw. The dissonance of reality crashed against me like waves breaking on the shore. Is this the truth? The figure smiled sadly, but it didn't reach its eyes, which were pools of midnight despair. You sought the glow, it leads to revelations. The figure gestured toward the lake, its surface rippling ominously. But remember, truths can cut deeper than any blade. A tremor ran through me. What had I awakened? I only want to understand. I cried out, desperation spilling over. What did she do? What did you take from us? Sometimes, truth is a mirror. It reflects what we fear most. Are you ready to drown in that reflection? It asked, the shadows twisting around its form, beckoning with horrifying grace. Before I could respond, the waters stirred violently, the surface bubbling as if something immense was surfacing from the depths. My heart raced. A sense of foreboding wrapped around me like a vice. The air grew thicker, charged with an eerie energy that crackled against my skin. Show me, I shouted, an urgency bubbling within me. I had to know, for better or worse. I took a step closer to the lake, the pull of the glow stronger than ever. The figure hesitated, its face marred by the weight of sorrow. Once you see, you cannot unsee. Are you prepared to lose yourself? The waves erupted, and suddenly, visions danced above the water, a life I did not live, filled with laughter, sorrows, and secrets. The memories were disjointed flashes, my mother shushing my father during whispered arguments, careworn eyes darting toward the lake as if it was alive, pulsing with treachery. No, stop! I shouted, but the vision surged with renewed vigor. Another flash, my mother cradling something in her arms, a small bundle wrapped in tattered cloth. My breath caught. Was it me? Or something more? Everything you seek is here, the apparition said softly, almost pleadingly. But truth and pain are inseparable. You may wish to turn away. I was trapped in a cyclone of emotion. Images of my mother, always strong yet fragile as glass, flooded my mind. What did you hide, Mom? What did the lake whisper that you couldn't bear to speak? Tears streamed down my face as I struggled to confront the reality my heart sensed but dared not acknowledge. The shadows loomed closer, tightening their grip as though they were determining whether to consume or protect, and then I understood sometimes, the past is a monster that feeds on unacknowledged grief. In the depths of my heart, I knew that facing it might not just unearth memories, but shatter everything I thought I understood. As I braced for the inevitable plunge into the abyss of truth, the ground beneath me shifted. The water roared, and I heard the laughter of children, my laughter, echoing around me, jarring against the somber backdrop. But what other horrors lurked beneath that innocent veneer? What was the lake hiding, waiting to rise from its depths and claim me as its own? As the murky water surged, I held my breath, my heart pounding to desperate rhythms. Could I uncover the truth without losing everything? The moment of reckoning approached, and with it, the piercing question echoed: was I ready to confront my family's painful legacy? The darkness churned around me, swirling with the weight of long-forgotten truths. I stood at the edge of revelation, my heart racing as the lake's surface rippled violently. Memories seeped from the depths, whispers clawing at my consciousness, begging to be acknowledged. Your mother made a choice, the apparition murmured, its voice an echo of sorrow, resonating in the bone-deep chill that enveloped me. But so did you. Every choice carries a price. The shadows thickened around it, and I felt the weight of everything at stake resting on my shoulders. I stepped closer to the water, fear twisting in my gut. I'm ready, I shouted. I need to know. Whatever it takes. The words hung in the air, trembling with vulnerability. The figure hesitated, its face a mask of endless sorrow. Are you prepared to see what you've lost? The truth does not waver, it reveals. The water erupted once more, sending waves crashing against the shore. The vision mounted, a cascade of images rose like a flood, each one a stitch in the fabric of our family's tragic history. I saw my mother laughing with those kids, her smile bright yet tinged with something darker. Then, something stirred beneath the surface, a pulse of memories and shadows, slinking forward until they were clear. Mom, I called out, desperation laced through my voice. What did you find here? What truth did you believe you could carry alone? The vision swelled. I found myself standing at the edge of a scene. My mother stood by the dock, the water swirling restlessly beneath her. She clutched a small bundle tightly. She looked up, haunted eyes searching the horizon. I'm sorry, I thought I could shield you from it, her voice whispered through the echoes, mixing with the cacophony of the lake. Suddenly, the scene shifted. The air felt heavy, like the moment before a storm breaks. Fleeting glimpses of shadows behind her flitted in the corners of my vision. I was being drawn deeper, pulled into her pain as the water bubbled and churned. "Mom," I screamed. "Tell me what you meant." The shadows twisted closer. With every moment, it felt like the lake was alive, responding to my cries, its depths shifting, ready to disclose secrets that could unearth our past. Some truths breathed darkness. A voice slithered around me, coiling tightly. "They demand a reckoning." And just like that, clarity struck. A truth, so painfully sharp, echoed in my mind. I could no longer view my mother as my eternal protector. She had made decisions that weighed heavily, sacrifices that carved grooves deeper than love, choices that reverberated through generations. The waves roared in agreement, unleashing a blinding light emerging from the depths until I realized it was more than light. It was a realization. Propelled toward it, I felt the burdens of sorrow release just briefly, allowing a glimmer of hope to crack through my hesitance. "Whatever it takes to save her," I whispered to myself, and then the glow pulsed brighter, igniting the shadows around me until they retreated, revealing a beautiful yet painful truth hidden in my mother's choice. I plunged back into the heart of that brilliance, a moment suspended in time. There it was, my mother's love etched in every facet. She had sacrificed, knowing that shielding me too much could create an unbearable void. "Mom," I shouted once more, uncertain if I could breach the gap between us. The light intertwined with my being, illuminating the reflections of faded family ties and treasured moments. Then silence. It enveloped me like a soft blanket, the whispers falling quiet as everything I held onto lay bare before me. I stood, battered yet clearer. The lake's surface shimmered, whispering a vital message. Whatever happened here demanded understanding, not punishment. With every ounce of love, I called out for the spirit of the lake. "I acknowledge you. I won't flee from this truth any longer. Together, we break these chains." As my voice echoed, the glow erupted into a celestial explosion, washing over me, calming the water's fury. The lake's dark essence melded into something beautiful, something worthy of remembrance instead of dread. One last image forced itself into my mind, a glimpse of my family, whole and joyful, grasping at the warmth and love in shared moments instead of fear. I saw my mother's face, ghostly and serene, guiding me through the darkness, and just like that, I emerged from the waters, the weight and legacy of our history lifting piece by piece, hope settling gently in the void. The night air filled my lungs as I pulled myself from the lake. The house stood firm behind me, a beacon of truth shining in the dark. I turned to face the grounded structure, feeling the presence of my family alive in every heartache and bond forged in love, every whisper of the past now a shout of truth. I reclaimed the lake house, not just the structure, but the memories, the love, and the pain wrapped into one. It was time to turn the page. It was time to let go, and so, with a weary but hopeful heart, I took a deep breath and stepped away from the water, ready to embrace a future unmarred by the shadows, knowing the truth was finally mine to hold. Now, friends, this journey has come to a close, but our stories are never finished. To ensure you're part of the next chapter, you need to subscribe immediately. Don't let this community slip away. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm, so we can keep bringing you more tales that stir your heart. Flood the comments with your reactions, theories, and what you thought about this conclusion. And remember, don't wait even one more second before you share this video with at least 5 friends who need to witness this ending. Support the channel and our stories, because this is the moment to show your love.